Believe, and you're here in the office of the Always Believe House. Oh, today is going to be fantastic. You are going to take a step into adulthood. You are going to learn how to simplify radicals. Wow! Last year in 8th grade math, when you, let's say, got the square root of 20, you were taught to round that to a decimal, okay? The square root of 20 is between the square root of 16, the square root of 25, 4 point something, right? You were taught to round and estimate that. Today, we're going to simplify a radical. It's kind of like simplifying a fraction. You're writing the radical as the smallest form of that radical as possible. You'll see what that means in a minute. This is going to be fun. This is like triple mega stuffed Oreo cookies. So a magical whiteboard appears, and let's start rocking and rolling. First thing we want to do on this paper, remember, you will not write decimals as answers anymore on this. If you were to plug number 1 in the calculator will not give you the answer we're going to write down. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is make a t-chart, put x and x squared. So I'm going to go 0, let's go to 15. So go all the way down to 15. Okay, now then what we're going to put on the right is the squares of those numbers. So 0 times 0 is 0. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. You should know your squares up to 10 easily. 0, 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100. You should have those memorized. So 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100. Now then right here you may have to use a calculator. 11x squared equals 12x squared equals, or 12 times 12, enter. 13 times 13 equal, okay? So 11 times 11 is 121, then 144, 169. Let me write that better. 196 and 225. So now we have this t-chart here that gives us the squares and the squares, okay? The numbers and the squares. What if I wanted to get 6 to the second power? I would go to the 6, look to the right, it's equal to 36. Now then, how do I go from 36 back to 6? You don't divide, you use the square root symbol, right? So the square root symbol undoes the exponent of 2. The square root of 36 would be 6, right? The square root of 49 would be 7. You go from the right to the left. So we're not dividing, we're using a square root symbol to undo the exponent of 2. So let's look at number 3. Let's look at number 3 first. Is 64 on the right-hand side? 64 is right here in it. The square root of 64 would be the number to the left, or 8. So the square root of 64 is just going to be 8. Y'all with me? Okay, now we're going to do number 1 later because it's a pretty big number. Let's go to number 5. Okay, on number 5, we're going to do this the simplest way you could do these, okay? The square root of 8 is not going to be 2 point something. You will not write square roots as decimals anymore. You will not write square roots as decimals, so how are we going to write it? We're about to find out. The first thing you want to do is prime factor 8. So write 8 over here and make a factor tree. 8 is 2 times 4, and 4 is 2 times 2 in it. Y'all with me? Okay, these numbers right here are the prime factors of 8, aren't they? So under here, write down the square root and put 2 times 2 times 2. Now then, circle your pairs. Remember, a square root undoes an exponent of 2. So circle the ones you have 2 of. I have 2 of these, right? What is 2 times 2? 2 times 2 is 4, and the square root of 4 is 2 in it. So I'm going to take both of these 2's out, and the square root of 4, if I multiply them, I'm just going to write one of those 2's down. So every pair of numbers you have, if they're the same, you pull it out and you write down that pair once. What number is not circled? It's this number right here, doesn't it? It stays inside the square root symbol. So this is the same thing as this. That's the first time you've ever done this, okay? So you won't write the square root of 8 as like 2.8. You're just going to write it 2 square root of 2. This is a huge concept in geometry. You're going to have to get this down in geometry because when you do the Pythagorean theorem, let's say you get the square root of 20, you won't write that as 4.4. You'll write it as 2 square root of 5. Very important. You're clicking on this, okay? Now then, let's go to show that this is true. If I were to write in, can I do it in this one? Let me do it in the big calculator, okay? So if I were to hit Control X squared, that gives you the square root, and hit 8. The square root of 8 is 2.8, right? Now then, let's type in 2 Control X squared. That gives me my second square root. I get 2 square root of 2. We said that the square root of 8 was the same thing as 2 square root of 2, didn't we? Hit enter. Notice I get the same exact decimal. You will not write the decimal of this anymore. You're just going to simplify the number inside the square root. So on this problem here, notice that the number inside the square root is 8, and in my answer it's 2. That's the easiest way to simplify the square root. So you're trying to make the number in the radical sign, the square root symbol, as small as possible, okay? Now then, let's do an easier one here. Put square root of 50 right here. Because you can figure this out pretty simple. 50 is 2 times 25, right? So under here, we're going to put 2 times 5 times 5. Those are the prime factors of 50, aren't they? In a minute, I will show you how to get the prime factors in the calculator, okay? So now then, what can I circle 2 of? You're going to go up here and circle 2. Notice I circled a pair of 5s, right? I'm going to take that pair of 5 and write it outside. I'm only going to write down one of the numbers. And then what is not circled? There's a 2 not circled, right? So I get this. So it's the square root of 50 and 5 square root of 2. This right here will be my answer. Let's put these in the calculator. The square root Control X squared 50 should be 7 point something, right? Because the square root of 49 is 7. A little bit more, I'd say 7.1. And 7.07, 7.1, right? Now then, let's do 5 Control X squared 2. I should get the same exact answer, shouldn't I? It's Shazam. So all you're trying to do with these square root problems is get the number inside the square root symbol, the radical, as small as possible, okay? Kind of like simplifying a fraction, except you don't have a fraction. Trying to get that radical, the number inside the square root, as small as possible. Now then, let's go to number 1. If you go to number 1, we got 112. That would take a long time to prime factor. So let's see how the calculator could do this. Go to your calculator, hit menu, make sure you're in the calculator screen, hit menu, and where does it say number? It says 2 as number, right? And then does it say factor? It should say least common multiple. It says factor there, right? So type in 3, and then factor 112. Hit enter, and bam, I got it. I have 2 to the 4th times 7. Those are if we made a factor tree, we would get 4 2s and a 7 as the prime factors of 112. And I will show you how to do this one more time on the calculator. So let's go back to the paper. And the answer was 2 to the 4th times 7, right? So I'm going to write down 4 2s, don't use an exponent, and 1 7, right? So 112 is 2 to the 4th, write down 4 2s and a 7. Now they go up here and circle your pairs. I would do one circle like this. Notice how many pairs of 2s did I circle? I circled 2 of them, right? So I'm going to take this 2, write it outside, this 2, write it outside, and my 7 stays inside. I got 2 numbers outside, so I'm going to multiply. So 2 times 2 is 4. This will turn into 4 square root of 7. And if I were to calculate the square root of 112 and 4 times the square root of 7, my decimal answers would be the same. Okay? You've never done this before. So hold on, it's not that hard because you have the calculator to prime factor these. Let's go down to number 7. Okay, 245. The first thing you want to do is make sure your number's not a perfect square. 245 is not on our chart. We only went to 15 though. So let's factor 245. Get your calculator. Remember to factor it, you're going to hit menu. Where does it say number? It says at 2. And then it says factor at 3. And then we want to factor 245. Then hit enter, and it's 5 times 7 squared. So I'm going to write down 1 5 and 2 7s, right? So let's go back to here. So under 245, I'm going to write down 1 5 and 2 7s. Then circle your pairs. I could circle a pair of 7s, right? 7 times 7 is 49. The square root of 49 is 7, so I could pull out a 7, can I? And the 5 stays inside, right? I have one number outside. I have one number inside. This is my answer. So if I were to type in the square root of 245 and 7 times the square root of 5, my answer would be the same. This is a huge concept, big step into adulthood right here. So in geometry next year, when you do the Pythagorean theorem, you're going to simplify your square roots like this. You will not write them as decimals because you're going to leave them as an exact number. Let's do number 9. I'm going to do this on the calculator one more time. So we're going to get the square root, or we're going to factor 75, right? Menu, number, factor, and then 75, right? Hit enter, and I get 3 times 5 squared, don't I? So I'm going to write down 1 3 and 2 5s. So I'm going to go to here. I'm going to write down 1 3 and 2 5s. I'm going to circle a pair of 5s, pull this out. I'm going to pull out 1 5, and the 3 stays inside. Ho, 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 ho. What if you have 2 numbers inside? You multiply them. So if there's 2 numbers outside and 2 numbers inside, you just multiply the numbers that are outside and inside. These are working pretty simple because we only have one of each. Okay, I'm going to let you do 11 and 12 on your own. Go to number 17. Oh, ho, ho, ho. 17 looks like F-U-N, fun, fun, fun. So let's do number 17. Okay, I'm going to prime factor 32s. That's Mr. Toops has like a calculator right here. I know my prime factors are 32. It would be 2 to the 5th. So if I went to calculator and I hit number, factor, 32, enter, it would be 2 to the 5th. So I'm going to write down 5 2s. And notice I have x to the 3rd, write down 3 x's. Now then, circle your pairs, okay? I have a pair of 2s, I have a pair of 2s, and I have a pair of x's, right? All of those pairs are going to be pulled out. So I could pull out a 2, and an x, right? Put a square root symbol. What is not circled? What is not circled is a 2 and an x. Now then, there's more than one number on the outside, right? We're going to multiply them, and we're going to get 4x, right? So this will turn into 4x square root of 2x. That would be the answer. Oh, ho, 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 ho. F-U-N, fun, fun, fun. Let's go to number 19, 392. So let's use the calculator. Menu, number, factor, and then 392, right? 3 times 2. Hit enter. 2 cubed times 7 squared. So I need 3 2s and 2 7s, right? So 3 2s and 2 7s and 1 x, right? Now then I'm going to circle my pairs, and each pair gets pulled out. So I can pull out a 2 and a 7, and a 2 and an x are left inside, aren't they? The 2 numbers that were circled are 2s and 7s. I'm going to multiply that. My final answer would be 14 square root of 2x. Ho, 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 ho. In your lesson today, I posted the key, so you should be able to go through that key, figure out how to get these answers. Remember, this semester, everything you are doing in here will be brand new. Make sure you're doing the problems I'm giving you. If you do not get the repetition, you will not be successful. Make sure you do all the problems and keep them so you can use them on your exams. And let's go to 23. I'm going to finish up with 23. And then let you do the rest. So on 23, we got 48. 48 is 2 to the 4 times 3. So we're going to have 4 2s, a 3, and then 3 n's. Okay? So you want to prime factor it all, so write it all out. Now then I'm going to circle my pairs. I got a pair of 2s, a pair of 2s, and a pair of n's, right? Notice I circled 3 pairs, right? All of those pairs are going to be pulled out. A 2, and an n, and then square root symbol. These are not circled, are they? So they stay inside. This is pretty simple stuff. So 2 times 2 is 4. So my answer is going to be 4n square root of 3n. Wow, what a blast, huh? Okay? Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed this. This is probably the best part of your day. Today you learned how to simplify a square root and not write it as a decimal. Life just doesn't get better. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Remember, you are amazing. You are created to do wonderful things, and you are awesome.